Alma Woodsey Thomas was an African-American artist and art teacher. She was born on September 22, 1891 in Columbus, Georgia. Her family moved to Washington, D.C. when she was just a little child. It was here that she continued to live and work for the rest of her life. Her abstract art is most recognized for its use of pattern, repetition, rhythm, and most importantly, her vibrant, beautiful use of color. So one of the things that I really love about Alma Thomas's paintings are the fact that she uses little or big patches of color, and they remind me of bricks. So because she leaves a little bit of white space in between each little brick or block of color, it almost reminds me of stone or like a mosaic. A mosaic is a work of art where the artist is actually using colored pieces of stone or colored pieces of glass or sometimes gold or jewels or things like that, and leaving space in between each little tile or each little brick to leave some space and leave some color in between each little brick. So here's another example of a mosaic, and it has a very similar characteristic to Alma Thomas's work. So here's another example of Alma's paintings. She's using what looks like strokes of color to make them look almost like a rectangular shape or like a brick. So this is kind of what we want to go for when we're creating our work of art today. When you're filling in your spaces, you want to use more rectangular shapes to fill your spaces to make it look more like brick or kind of like a mosaic. Before we start adding color though, what we need to do is lay out our landscape first. So that's what I'm going to do here first. I'm going to use a pencil first. Then when I'm all finished drawing in pencil, I'm going to outline with a Sharpie. That's going to be day 1. Then on day 2, we will move on to discussing color and how we're going to use markers to add color into our landscape in the style of Alma Woodsey Thomas. What I'm going to do first is draw some hills down here towards the bottom of my paper. In a landscape, there are 3 parts to a landscape. The bottom is the foreground, or everything that's in the front and closest to the viewer. Then there's the middle ground, which is everything that's in the middle. It's a little bit further away. And then everything in the background is the things that are farthest away. So I'm starting with the foreground at the bottom of my paper. I'm going to draw a curved line that goes from the edge of the paper down to the bottom. And then I'm going to draw another curved line on the other side of the paper that goes right into that first one. So these are my foreground hills. Now what I'm going to do is move on to the middle ground and add some mountains. Now mountains are all kinds of different shapes and different kinds of lines you could use for your mountains. I'm going to use triangle top mountains because they're nice and easy and simple, and I know I will have success with them. So what I'm going to do is just draw a couple of big, tall triangle shapes for my mountains. And this mountain comes all the way down to the hill. Now my next mountain beside it, I want it to be behind the first mountain. So I'm going to start about halfway up here on the side and draw another one. And then for my third, I'm going to do the same thing so that they look like they are overlapping. And there we go. So now what I'm going to do is move on to the background, which is everything that is furthest away. In this case, it would be the sky. Okay, so I'm going to start with some circles because Alma Thomas used a lot of circular shapes for the outline of her artwork, and then filled it in with those colorful bricks that I was talking about earlier. So what I'm going to do is just start with a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It can be a little wobbly or crooked. That's fine. And then I'm just going to add more circles around those circles. Now, this next line is going to start off the edge of the page, because my sun is going to be nice and big, and it's going to continue to grow and grow until it fills the entire sky. All right, there's my finished example for part number 1. Now, next class, we're going to talk about how we're going to use markers to fill in some of those spaces in the style of Alma Thomas. Before you put your artwork away, make sure you write your name on the back. And I will see you back here next class for part 2.